fourth time. Fourth time.
Yeah, I mean, I think he got beat in all 3 fights. I think he got beat with his boots on in the second fight. I think he was better in the third fight, and I think he lost the first fight. But what difference? I mean, obviously Mark Breland was in his corner. Mark Breland was a very respected trainer. They seem to have fallen out. Were you part of Mark Breland's camp?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's the difference between what you brought or you're bringing to the situation with Deonta and what Mark had previously?
Well, I believe in drilling. I've never seen Mark Breland not just drill Deonta, and I say this with all due respect. I've never seen Mark Breland speak the boxing language and drill not just Deonta, any fighter at the high level. Mark Breland, in my opinion, was known for his outstanding amateur background, and he had a very good...
It was a great world champion as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Lloyd Hunnigan.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you mean by drilling?
What I mean by drilling is I believe that a fighter like Deonta, he needed to do repetitiously the same thing over and over and over, fundamentally sound every day to become better at it. All fighters are not like that. Some fighters you could just actually have certain sessions where you could tell, like, oh, wow, he make leaps just in those couple sessions. Deonta is not like that when it comes to development, but when it comes to his power, that's God-given. So it's almost like the things I've never seen him do concerning Mark Breland being his trainer. And, like, I'm saying one thing, but you can actually look at my training with Deonta and look at Mark Breland's training with Deonta. With all due respect, it's night and day. I'm not holding the pads and asking for one combination the whole round just because I know it'll make a lot of noise and people are going to be excited about it. No, we're going to do things with intent. We're going to do things responsibly, and we're going to do things the right way to the best of my ability that I believe I can teach it to him. And I just think it's night and day from what I teach Deonta and what Mark Breland teach Deonta. Actually, if we want to be quite frank about the whole thing, JD's, in my opinion, have taught Deonta more or have been, you could say, a good teacher before Mark Breland. And Russ Amber was even around. Mark Breland did a good job with Deonta, but in my opinion, he didn't take him to the next level.
Because there was an argument, and
Wow. To be honest with you, says Malik, Mark Breland didn't take him to the next level. Mark Breland didn't really teach him what he needed to teach him. He didn't teach him like I taught him. What I taught him was night and day. And based on what we just heard together, Malik Scott is just showing you the difference between him and Mark Breland. Now, to start from the beginning, when he mentioned Mark Breland was known for his amateur career, and some fighters, he said he never known Mark Breland to drill a fighter, meaning to do something over and over and over and over again. But he also admitted later on that, hey, Deonta's not like that. Deonta, you have to drill him over and over and over again for him to get what's going on. I'll say this. I think, to be fair, based on what we've learned between Deonta Wilder and Mark Breland, Anthony Breland, his son, okay, we've had multiple talks with him, with Anthony Breland. And Anthony Breland said that Mark Breland wasn't allowed to teach Deonta certain things. When I heard that, that blew my mind, because it was almost based on, hey, it's what Deonta feels like doing today versus what you feel like teaching him versus what you're allowed to teach him. So if you want to teach him something that he doesn't want to hear or to be taught, then you can't teach it. So for Malik Scott to say, well, I never seen that and I was in the camp and this, that, and the other, what we're not hearing is the inability or the restrictions from Team Wilder, meaning the management of Wilder, that'd be JD's because he was partially management, Shelly Finkel being the manager, or whoever, right? Because I think it was around in that area. I think that's what he's leaving out, and I would like to hear that, because it's basically the way Malik is telling it. Mark Breland had full access to Deonta Wilder to train him any way he liked. Well, the contradiction is that what we were told, that the story of Mark Breland not being allowed to teach Deonta certain things because he's tired, he didn't want to do that, and Deontay Wilder has came out and said is certain things he got away with a lot of stuff because he wasn't made or drilled or forced to do a lot of things in camp. Now, these is what he said. So if we take that together based on what Anthony Breland said, and we put that together, that's a nice little puzzle piece right there, people. When you're talking about what Mark Breland was allowed to do versus what Deontay Wilder said, I would go with that. I don't necessarily go with the idea of Malik Scott was just a guy that was a part. He was a strategist, and he was just a part of it, but he didn't see all that other stuff or the politics that was hovering over Mark Breland in him training. Now, JD's. This is another thing. He says JD's had more of an impact with Deontay Wilder. Now, I would believe that, but not technical, and not from a technical or experience standpoint. I think JD's, okay, like I've told many people, I think JD's and Deontay Wilder got along better because I think they were from the same area, Southerners, you know what I mean? Let's forget about all the, you know what I mean? I think they just gelled better. I think they identified with each other better. You know what I mean? Since JD's is from Alabama, Deontay's from Alabama, Southerners, you know what I mean? Or he might be from Georgia. However, I think he's from Alabama. And I think they gelled along better. I think JD's knew a lot less than Mark Breland, but I think they got along better. Because at any point after Deontay Wilder lost in the second fight with Tyson Fury, you did not hear Deontay Wilder say a negative word against JD's. But you did hear him say, jealous trainer. You did hear him say, oh, well, hey, we had to fire him, but they kept JD's. So there had to be a reason for keeping JD's. And there also had to be a reason from you hiring Mark Breland in the first place. Okay, and we heard a lot about that from Anthony Breland. Okay, so a lot of this stuff, what we're hearing now in hindsight, it's like, okay, well wait a minute. We didn't get that before. We had a totally different narrative. What we heard was different from what Mark Breland wanted to do versus what he could do. Okay, so I think it's unfair for Malik to say that without mentioning the politics that was restricting him from training Deontay Wilder the way he wanted to. Now, the training style of Mark Breland. I think Mark Breland, in Malik's defense, I think Mark Breland, being such a gifted fighter, probably one of the best amateurs ever, that means he's experienced, that means he's intelligent at what he does. People, I want you to understand something, okay? Because I don't want to leave this out. Just because you're very good at something doesn't mean you're good at training, okay? Being a gifted student, like Mark Breland was, doesn't mean you're going to be a gifted trainer. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Mark Breland because I'll never do that. However, I've seen that. We've seen that with Roy Jones. We've seen that with Pernell Whitaker. We've seen that with people that know how to do more than they're able to train or relay to train. But then again, let's see what we talked about earlier in the video about having restrictions. But anyway, that's food for thought. You guys tell me what you think of Malik Scott saying that his style of training versus Mark Breland's style of training is night and day, and Mark Breland was unable to bring Deontay to the next level. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!